We're live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Donald Trump to face first criminal trial in a hush money cover-up on 25th of March. Trump calls the decision a disgrace. Yemen's Iran-backed Houthi targets multiple vessels on Thursday, including a British ship. US and British warplanes carry out retaliatory strikes across Yemen. And in cricket, India will hope to put up a formidable total against England on the second day of the third test in Rajkot. The host will resume play on 326 runs with a loss of 5 wickets. On to details now. In New York, a judge rejected motion to dismiss Donald Trump's hush money case. The trial is set to start on the 25th of March, marking the first instance where a former president faces a criminal trial. DD India's correspondent William Denselor reports from New York.
Heading into court, Donald Trump said the case against him amounted to election interference. Despite similar claims from his legal team, Judge Juan Merchan said the case will go to trial as planned on March 25th. Trump faces 34 charges relating to accusations that he falsified business documents in order to cover up hush money payments to a porn star during his 2016 bid for the White House. Justice Merchan said in his ruling that these are serious allegations in a complex investigation. If convicted, each offence could bring with it the maximum of 4 years in prison. The former president denies wrongdoing and says the 4 separate criminal cases against him are politically motivated, designed to sabotage his re-election campaign. Merchan says the trial here in Manhattan is expected to last around 6 weeks. Meanwhile, in the state of Georgia, a hearing is being held to determine whether a relationship between prosecutors constitutes a conflict of interest. District Attorney Fani Willis hired Nathan Wade to run a case against Donald Trump and 18 other individuals accused of trying to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election. A witness on Thursday testified there was no doubt that Willis hired Wade after the start of their relationship. The defense argues the DA should be disqualified from the case. Such an outcome would mean the appointment of another prosecutor, who would then decide whether to continue with the case, make changes to it, or even drop it altogether. Willis says her relationship has had no bearing on the case, and that it ended back in August. William Denslow in New York, reporting for DD India.
Well, a day after US carried out 4 strikes on Houthi-held areas of Yemen, rebels fired missiles at a British ship off the country's coast on Thursday. Yemen's Iran-aligned Houthis have launched repeated drone and missile attacks against international commercial shipping in the Red Sea and the Bab el-Mandeb Strait since mid-November. The targets have been vessels with commercial ties to the United States, Britain or Israel. And NATO and Ukraine will create a new analysis, training and education center in Poland. Speaking after a meeting of alliance ministers and Ukraine on Thursday, NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg said the center will allow Ukrainian troops to share the lessons learned from the conflict. Stoltenberg also told reporters that a group of NATO members have committed to deliver 1 million new drones to Ukraine.
A group of allies is coming together with the goal of delivering 1 million drones to Ukraine. 20 NATO allies have also agreed to form a demining coalition. All of this will help to save Ukrainian lives. Together, NATO allies account for 99% of all military aid to Ukraine. But the United States being by far the biggest ally, of course it's vital that continue to provide support, and therefore I continue to expect that they will be able to make a decision, and hopefully as soon as possible.
Meanwhile, Poland's President Andrzej Duda and Prime Minister Donald Tusk will travel to the U.S. next month. The two leaders will meet President Joe Biden at the White House on the 12th of March. They are expected to discuss Russia's offensive in Ukraine and bilateral relations. Poland and Britain have appealed to the U.S. Congress to adopt an aid package for Ukraine. Western funding is crucial for Kyiv's ability to repel Russian attacks and keep its battered economy going as the conflict nears its third year. Well, the West continues to support Kyiv, with Germany and France signing bilateral agreements on security commitments with Ukraine. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is visiting Germany on Friday, during which he will meet Chancellor Olaf Scholz in Berlin and President Frank-Walter Steinmeier. A bilateral agreement about security assurances and long-term support will be signed in the framework of these talks. Meanwhile, French President Emmanuel Macron's office said that he will reaffirm France's determination to continue to provide unwavering support for Ukraine. France plans a €200 million fund for civilian projects to be carried out by French companies there. And some updates from the conflict zone now. Ukraine said it was withdrawing troops from some parts of the eastern town of Avdiivka to better positions after months of heavy fighting on Thursday. The battle-hardened reserve fighters from a crack brigade have joined the battle. Russian forces have been trying to advance on the town since October and have surrounded it on three sides, leaving limited resupply routes for the Ukrainian troops dug in there. Kyiv's foothold in the town appears increasingly shaky, with its supply lines now threatened. Capturing Avdiivka is key to Russia's aim of securing full control of the two provinces that make up the industrial Donbas region. Meanwhile, the White House spokesperson John Kirby said on Thursday that the Ukrainian city of Avdiivka is at risk of falling to Russian forces, citing Ukrainian troops' lack of artillery ammunition.
Avdiivka is at risk of falling into Russian control. In very large part, this is happening because the Ukrainian forces on the ground are running out of artillery ammunition. Russia is sending wave after wave of conscript forces to attack Ukrainian positions, and because Congress has yet to pass the supplemental bill, we've not been able to provide Ukraine with the artillery shells that they desperately need to disrupt these Russian assaults. Now, Russian forces are now reaching Ukrainian trenches actually in Avdiivka, and they're beginning to overwhelm Ukrainian defenses.
Well, Mexican truck drivers have blocked key highways to protest road safety issues, leading to increased robberies and extortion. The drivers have called for increased security measures, as 1 to 2 truck drivers were killed each month due to road safety issues. Traffic on at least 9 highways has been affected by the protest. Transport union leaders have warned that more strikes could be called if the government doesn't meet their demands. Mexico's government has labeled the road blockages unfounded and unjustified, and MTAC representatives have stopped negotiations. And U.S. President candidate Nikki Haley campaigned in Texas to win over deeply red state voters. Her next challenge is the South Carolina primary, where she challenged Donald Trump for the Republican nomination. DD India's Nick Harper reports from Austin, Texas.
Nikki Haley is fighting to survive. The former US ambassador to the UN wants to become the Republican nominee to take on Democratic President Joe Biden in November's presidential election. But standing in her way is the former President Donald Trump. He's already had some big wins in some of the state nominating contests, including big wins in Iowa and New Hampshire. Next weekend, they'll face off in South Carolina, and the polls already suggest Trump has a considerable lead, potentially with as much as 65% of the state backing him, compared to about 30% for Nikki Haley. Now, there had been speculation that if she were to lose in South Carolina next Saturday, she would drop out. But the fact that she's campaigning here in Texas suggests she's in it for the long run. Texas's primary is not until March the 5th. That's Super Tuesday, when more than a dozen states across the US hold their nominating contests. including California, where she was campaigning last week. All of it suggesting she intends to stay in the race until and potentially beyond Super Tuesday, and she's trying to win over voters here in Texas. But she may be disappointed. Polls suggest that only 20% of Texans support her, compared to 80% for Donald Trump. She's hoping to prove she can be an alternative to the former president. She says she has far less chaos in her campaign compared to Donald Trump. So there's certainly tenacity in her campaign, but reality may catch up with her in the coming weeks, when it becomes clear that Donald Trump has overwhelming support to become the Republican Party's nominee. Nick Harper in Austin, Texas, reporting for DD India.
Well, a boat capsized off the coast of Panama carrying 25 migrants, 4 of whom were killed and 7 others missing. The boat was carrying 25 migrants, many of whom are fleeing poverty, gang violence or other hardships in their home countries. The bodies were found near Panama's border with Colombia in the Carreto area near the Caribbean port of Ubaldia. The area is near a route through the deadly stretch of jungle known as the Darien Gap, where many US-bound migrants journey on foot. Authorities have not confirmed the number of victims or their nationalities. And Kansas City police link Super Bowl rally shooting to a dispute among people, ruling out any apparent link to extremism. Police said they had detained 3 people, including 2 minors, as subjects in the investigation. The third detainee, also a juvenile who was determined not to be involved, was later released, according to police spokesperson Alaina Gonzalez. Police were working with juvenile prosecutors to review evidence and determine applicable charges against the 2 minors, both teenagers still held in custody, she said. The police chief told reporters several firearms had been recovered from the shooting scene. It was the latest high-profile outburst of gun violence in the U.S., where such incidents have erupted with increasing frequency in schools, supermarkets, nightclubs, and other public settings. Well, the U.S. special counsel leading a criminal probe into President Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, said a former FBI informant was charged with lying about the pair's alleged involvement in business dealings with the Ukrainian energy company Burisma Holdings. In a statement on Thursday, special counsel David Weiss said a federal grand jury had indicted Alexander Smirnov, 43, on charges of making a false statement and creating a false and fictitious record in relation to an FBI probe on allegations that Joe Biden improperly tried to help his son's business interest in Ukraine. Smirnov faces a maximum penalty of 25 years in prison if convicted. And Senegal's Constitutional Council on Thursday ruled that Parliament's unprecedented postponement of the February 25th presidential vote and its rescheduling for December was not in line with the Constitution, pitching the country into a new phase of electoral uncertainty. The standoff has fueled widespread unrest and raised international concerns that one of the remaining democracies in coup-hit West Africa is under threat. In the latest twist, the Constitutional Council decided that the postponement law is contrary to the Constitution, according to its minutes. The Council also ruled to cancel a decree announced by Sall ahead of the vote that helped set the postponement in motion. The Council did not specify when the election should be held, which means it is up to Sall to set a reasonable date if he abides by the Council's decision, said presidential opposition candidate Anta Babacar, who welcomed the ruling as good news. And Greece's parliament approved a bill allowing same-sex civil marriage on Thursday. It is being hailed as landmark victory for supporters of LGBT rights. The law gives same-sex couples the right to wed and adopt children. This comes after decades of campaigning by the LGBT community for marriage equality in the socially conservative country. Greece is one of the first Orthodox Christian countries to allow such unions. The bill was approved by 176 lawmakers in the 300-seat parliament and will become law when it's published in the official government gazette.
Κυρίες και κύριοι συνάδελφοι, ψήφισαν συνολικά 254 βουλευτές. Επί της αρχής του σχεδίου νόμου ψήφισαν ναι 176, όχι 76, παρών 2.
And now let's take a look from news around the world. Toby, Marlo and Lucy Moss, the British composing team behind the hit musical Six, have launched their latest interpretation of Relationships on Valentine's Day. The musical, which won multiple awards, premiered at the Edinburgh Fringe and was transferred to Broadway. Asha announced his engagement to Jennifer Goia in Las Vegas on Super Bowl Sunday. The 45-year-old singer and Goia got married at Vegas weddings officiated by Ron DeCar. They have 2 children together, Sovereign Beau and Sire Castrello, and 2 sons with ex-wife Tamika Foster. Dune Part 2, the second installment of the sci-fi epic, premiered in London's Leicester Square. The film follows Timothée Chalamet and Zendaya on the desert planet Arrakis, where Chalamet's character Paul Atreides and Zendaya's Chani seek revenge against the Fremen. Set in the future where noble families rule, the film explores politics, religion, resource fights and environmental issues. 4 young Andean condors, including Sikoku, Big Whale, Siwan and Eclipse, have escaped from a rewilding project in southern Chile. The condors, which carry satellite and radio transmitters, were evaluated at the Metropolitan Zoo before being transported to Patagonia National Park for a 2-month acclimatization process. The Patagonia region is home to 70% of Andean condors in Chile. And still to come on this edition of DD India Live. To further deepen financial connectivity, India and Nepal collaborate in linking their first payment systems through the UPI-NPI. In a bid to prevent the spread of misinformation online, which could sway voters ahead of elections, Google to launch an anti-misinformation campaign across 5 countries in the European Union. And we'll show you glimpses of Berlin Film Festival's glittering opening ceremony.
We just don't bring you the news as it unfolds. We get to the heart of the matter.
We don't just present facts, we demystify complex social, political and economic events.
We break stories that shape the world's present and future because you deserve the truth.
I am Tanvi Taneja from New Delhi.
I'm Ollie Barrett from London.
I'm Nick Harper from Washington, D.C.
Join us on DD India Global Monday to Friday at these times.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and moving on, the White House strongly denounced violence on factors like race or gender, categorizing such behaviors across the country. Responding to a question about recent attacks on Indian students in U.S., spokesperson John Kirby said that that's just unacceptable. The president and his administration has been monitoring the situation and working with the state and local authorities to thwart and disrupt those kind of incidents. The statement comes in the wake of a sudden surge in attacks on Indian students in the United States.
No excuse for violence, certainly based on race or gender or religion or any other factor. That's just unacceptable here in the United States. And the president, this administration, has been working very, very hard to make sure we're doing everything we can to work with state and local authorities to try to thwart and disrupt those kinds of attacks and make it clear to anybody who might consider them that they'll be held properly accountable.
And moving on, the central banks of India and Nepal on Thursday signed terms of reference for the integration of the United Payments Interface and National Payments Interface. The Reserve Bank of India and Nepal Rashtra Bank signed the terms of reference. The integration is aimed at facilitating cross-border remittances between India and Nepal by enabling users of the 2 systems to make instant, low-cost fund transfers. The collaboration between India and Nepal in linking their fast payment systems through the UPI-NPI linkage will further deepen financial connectivity and reinforce the enduring historical, cultural and economic ties between the 2 countries. Well, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi met the Amir of Qatar, His Highness Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, at Amiri Palace in Doha on Thursday. The 2 leaders held talks on a wide range of bilateral, regional and global issues. Here's more on PM Modi's Qatar visit.
After concluding successful UAE visit, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited Qatar, where he held productive meetings with Amir of Qatar Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad and key dignitaries. Prime Minister also met Father Amir, His Holiness Hamad bin Khalifa Al Thani, and congratulated him on his visionary leadership that paved the way for Qatar's development over the past decades.
The two leaders thereafter held detailed discussions, first in a delegation level format and then in the restricted format. The topics of discussion included a wide range of areas of bilateral cooperation, including trade partnership, investment cooperation, energy partnership, issues engaged in regional security, cultural affinity, and people-to-people ties. In this, when the two leaders spoke, they spoke about the need for strategic investments and strategic partnership in the field of energy and technology, and to proceed beyond the bilateral relationship in this field.
The Prime Minister also thanked the Amir for taking care of over 8 lakh strong Indian community in Qatar and conveyed India's commitment to further expanding and deepening bilateral cooperation. He invited the Amir to pay an early visit to India.
Prime Minister thanked His Highness the Amir for his support for the welfare of the Indian community, and in this regard expressed his deep appreciation to His Highness the Amir for the release of 8 Indian nationals of Al Dahra Company. We are extremely gratified to see them back in India. Honorable Prime Minister invited His Highness the Amir to pay a visit to India.
Upon arrival late on Wednesday, PM Modi was accorded warm welcome by a large number of Indian diaspora in Doha. He later met his Qatari counterpart, Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdul Rahman Al Thani. The two leaders exchanged views on expanding bilateral cooperation in sectors such as trade, investment, energy, finance, and technology.
Well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is slated to address the Viksit Bharat Viksit Rajasthan program on Friday via video conferencing. During the event, PM Modi will inaugurate multiple development projects worth over $2 billion. PM Modi will inaugurate various national highway projects worth over $602 million in Rajasthan. PM Modi will inaugurate 8 important railway projects of Rajasthan worth over $277 million. He will lay the foundation stone solar projects worth around $638 million in Rajasthan. PM Modi will also inaugurate multiple projects worth $289 million under Jal Jeevan Mission. Later, Prime Minister Modi will visit Rewari in the Indian state of Haryana on Friday. Prime Minister Modi will inaugurate multiple development projects worth over $1.1 billion, including urban transport, health, rail and tourism sector. Also, Prime Minister Modi will lay foundation stone of Gurugram Metro Rail project worth about $656 million. Foundation stone of All India Institute of Medical Sciences, that is AIIMS in Haryana, is also being led under Pradhan Mantri Swasthya Suraksha Yojana. Prime Minister will inaugurate a newly built experiential museum in a Kurukshetra built at the cost of around $30 million. Prime Minister Modi will also lay the foundation stone and dedicate to the nation multiple railway projects in Haryana. And now let's take a look at other stories making news today. At least 11 people have died in the fire that broke out at the market in Alipur in Delhi. As many as 22 fire tenders of Delhi Fire Service reached the spot and controlled the fire. A search operation is also underway for the missing person at the site. The cause of the fire is still unknown. The Delhi police has registered a case and the investigation is underway. Chief Minister of Indian State of Maharashtra, Eknath Shinde, held a meeting with London Lord Mayor Michael Manley. The meeting centred around the possibility of collaboration between the Maharashtra government and London administration over some development issues. The two-day cultural festival, Jnk New Hope, commenced in India's Jammu and Kashmir. Manoj Sinha, Lieutenant Governor of Jammu and Kashmir, inaugurated the event. He lauded the joint endeavour of the all Jnk folk artists to showcase the rich musical heritage and folk art legacy of Jammu and Kashmir Union Territory. A total of 450 artists from different parts of Jammu and Kashmir are participating in the cultural festival. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will share his thoughts with the people through his Mann Ki Baat program on the 25th of February. People can share their ideas and suggestions for Mann Ki Baat program till the 23rd of February through MyGov portal. Mann Ki Baat program will be broadcasted on the entire network of Doordarshan. And Google is preparing to launch an anti-misinformation campaign across 5 countries in the European Union ahead of bloc's parliamentary elections. In June, EU citizens will elect a new European Parliament to pass policies and laws in the region, and lawmakers fear the spread of misinformation online could sway the voters. Google is going to bring tougher new rules to tackle online content. While all this is happening, while France, Poland and Germany accused Russia of putting together an elaborate network of websites to spread pro-Russian propaganda. Europe's Digital Services Act comes into force this week. It requires very large online platforms and search engines to do more to tackle illegal content and risks to public security. And in sports news, India will hope to put up a formidable total against England on the second day of the third test in Rajkot on Friday. The host will resume the play on 326 runs with the loss of 5 wickets, with Ravindra Jadeja and night watchman Kuldeep Yadav at the crease. Jadeja is unbeaten on 110, while Yadav is batting on 1 run. On the day one, captain Rohit Sharma and Jadeja smashed a defiant hundreds to drag India out of the doldrums. India were reeling at 33 for 3 inside the opening hour after Mark Wood picked up 2 quick wickets. Rohit and Jadeja rebuilt the innings with a 204-run stand to drag the host back into the contest. The 5-match series is poised at 1-1. And the 74th Berlin Film Festival opened with a speech by festival co-director Marriott Risenbeek. The festival had invited 5 members of the far-right Alternative for Germany party, but withdrew due to nationwide uproar over deportations of ethnic minorities. The festival premiered Small Things Like These with Cillian Murphy, one of 20 films in competition for the Golden Bear Trophy. Well, that's all for this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X, formerly known as Twitter and Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.